Good evening. Give y'all just a second to come in, and I mean literally just a second. I hope everybody has had a phenomenal day. It is a great day, of course. It is my favorite day of the week. And so, because it's Tuesday, because of course tonight we got the scoop coming on. So, Walter Williams, how are you, sir? It's good to see you. Sylvia Jones, good to see you. How are you doing? Good to see you as well. So again, like I said, I only give everybody a second. As you're coming in, do me a favor. Please make sure you say hello, say what's up, give me a shout out, something to let me know that you are here. And please, if this is good content for you, please go ahead and hit the share button. Teresa Ann, how are you today? My good friend, good to see you. So listen, I'm just going to jump right in. Yesterday, I talked about the importance of believing in yourself. And I meant that with my whole heart, that this is the time that we have to believe in ourselves, believe in what we were born to do, and stop getting out of our way. I implore, I beg, I ask you guys to please to know that my expectation was that this year would be the year that books and albums and clothing lines and podcasts and whatever it is that you were called to do, that we would see that come to fruition, because you were going to really start believing in yourself and stop believing in the lies of what you don't have or what you cannot do. So I meant that. But what I wanted to talk to you all real quickly today is, as I thought through it, I realized that sometimes one of the things that we don't do after, which would be a next step, is that once we begin to believe in ourselves, once we begin to move in purpose, we forget that in order for us to get to certain places, that we are going to need a team. We're going to need some team. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're going to need a team. We're going to need some people to help us. We're going to need, some help. We're going to need some help. And so I wanted to give you guys a couple of things to think about. First of all, to encourage you to get the right help. Hey, Kels, how you doing? But then also I wanted to encourage you all, or give you some information or some thoughts that you should have about how you select those people who are in your team, and how you think about who those people are and the assignment that they have in helping you to become the person that you are supposed to be. So the first thing I want to say is that, again, is that before you even enter into trying to get you a team or get people around you or surround yourself, make sure that you're surrounded by the right people. Asa Laveau, how are you, sir? I want you all to get comfortable, that before this process can even work, you have to be comfortable being by yourself. You've got to get, once you start to believe in yourself, like we discussed yesterday, you then have to get to a place where you are comfortable being by yourself. Because if you don't get comfortable being by yourselves, then you will allow the opinions of people or the possibility of people leaving to determine what you do. And that will always happen. You'll always be presented with an opportunity to be pulled away. You'll always be presented with an opportunity to do something that's not aligned with your purpose. You will always be presented with something that looks like a quick fix. You will always be presented with something that looks like a better option, when in reality it is not. And so you have to be comfortable being by yourself, which could mean that you are going to have to make decisions that are going to make people upset and allow them to walk away from you. Oftentimes, the biggest reason, another big reason why people don't achieve the lifestyle that they want and they don't get to the place that they want, is because they spend the majority of their time being moved by what people think and what people have to say. I do not believe that we should live in a space of forget everybody, I'm going to do whatever I want. I don't believe that that is healthy. However, I don't believe that we should also live in this space that says whatever people think is what's going to control me. So you have to be comfortable enough. You have to believe in yourself enough. You have to know and be assured in your purpose and in your plan to say, I know this is who I am. I know this is what I am born to do. And so even if you walk away from me, even if you disagree with me to the point where you turn away from me, I'm okay with that because I know that what I am doing is what I'm supposed to do. So once you establish that in yourself, then you can start looking at the right people. You can start looking to make sure that the people who are around you are the right people. Okay. So here's a couple of things that I want you to consider when you're thinking about the right people. First thing I want you to consider is that, guess what? Is that even the right people give wrong information or wrong advice, especially when we're talking about pressure situations. So again, this goes back to the first thing I said, that when you are comfortable in yourself, you don't allow their opinion or their advice to be the sole thing that you listen to. You listen, you take it in, you pray about it, you consider it, but you have to stick with what you know you're supposed to do, because again, even the right people will give the wrong advice. I'm gonna give you. I got for my Christian brothers and sisters. I have some scripture to back this up. If you think about it. If you remember, there was a passage in the Bible, I believe it's either in First Samuel, where the prophet tells David to do something that David was not supposed to do. If I remember correctly, because I'm thinking this off the top of my head, he tells David to go ahead and to try to build God a house. That's what the prophet of God tells him, that yes, I think this is a great idea. You should go for it and you should do it. Nothing wrong with wanting to build God a house. Nothing wrong with the idea. It just wasn't in the purpose and it wasn't in the plan that God had for David. So it was the right idea. He was a good person. He wasn't trying. There was nothing that says he's trying to lead him astray. It's just simply, even the right people sometimes can give you the wrong information or advice, especially in a pressure situation. Number two, another thing that you want to consider when you're picking the people who are around you, you want to think, do they have the same level of integrity or a greater level of integrity that I have? Because again, your integrity will be the soil. This is what I want to say. Your integrity will be the soil in which your reputation and your success really grows in. Because even when we're not around, people talk about us. People know what we're doing. People can speak of us. And oftentimes the entry into certain doors is simply the level of integrity or the lifestyle that we live. There are some places that we will not go. There are some people who we will not let around us simply because we know that their integrity is shoddy. We know that their character is trash. And so we wouldn't let them around anybody or anything that we love. And so we have to consider that when we are choosing the people who are in our circle. Y'all got what I'm saying? The other thing you have to remember, and this is something that I have always struggled with and I continue to struggle with, is that everyone in your circle does not have to be in your inner circle. There can be several circles. So let me give you the biblical understanding of this. So the biblical understanding for me is, I look at that just like in scripture, we have an outer court, an inner court, and a holies of holies, that there are people who can only go into the outer courts of your life. There are people who only get access to the inner courts of your life. There are people who only get access to the holies of holies, who get access to the holies of your life. The people who get access to the holies of holies are people who are the closest to you. And just because a person gets access only to your outer court, it doesn't make them better or worse. It just means that's the place that they belong. And you got to be comfortable. I've got to be comfortable with letting people know that in this season of my life, you don't get access to my inner court. And if you think that's crazy, think about it like this. Would you let everybody into your bedroom? Of course you wouldn't. There are certain people, most people I hope, that you would not let into your bedroom. There are people who you'll let into your house that you will not let into your bedroom. There are people who you will let who can't even come to your house. They can only stay outside, and you talk to them in the car. And you definitely not letting those people into your bedroom. There are people, so just like you would protect your bedroom and your bed, it's the same way that you have to protect. You got to protect your soul, because you are that valuable, and the people around you have to earn. They have to be purpose for the place in your life where they are. Here's the next thing. The next thing you want to consider, you want to ask yourself and consider, is there diversity? So do you have a diverse group of individuals who are in your circles? One of the things that scares me the most right now is that I see a lot of people are afraid to have relationships, to have conversations, to have discussions with people who don't look like them, who don't love like them, and who don't think like them, and who aren't of the same race as them. And so what we've in essence done is we have segmented ourselves based upon the group that we want to fit in. And the problem with groups is that groups come with groupthink. Whether we want to say that we're great thinkers, the reality is the deeper and entrenched you are into any group, the more deeper and entrenched you are into the ideology, into the theology, into the thought patterns of that group. So if there is no diversity, then what you do is you basically build your life around the thoughts, the ideas, and the patterns of the people who are in this group. And Christina Cleveland, in her book, she also writes about that. The problem with that is not only do you think deeper and become more entrenched in the thoughts of your group, who you think that the people who are not in your group, there's something wrong with them because they think or do things that are not like your group, and because you are so enamored with being in or a part of this group, you then start to do things to make yourself stand out in that group and make that other group look like something wrong with them. So do you see the problem? So we have to have diversity. We have to have people who don't think like us. We have to be in hard situations and hard discussions that put us in places that seem uncomfortable, but will stretch us, will make us question our thoughts, will make us question our attitudes, will make us question what we've been taught, so that we can wrestle with them, because that's how we grow. So we need diversity in our group. Here's the next one. The next thing is to consider is if the people who are not in your circle do not encourage you to stay connected to your source and to your purpose, you cannot allow them even into the outer court of your life. I'm going to say that again. If the people who are in your circle do not encourage you to stay connected to your source or to your purpose, they are not allowed to be in your circle. A person who loves you, a person who wants the best for you, a person who wants to see you successful and grow will encourage you to do the work to stay connected to what keeps you grounded, even if it is something they don't agree with. I don't know any. I have people who, for example, Q, y'all know Q, she is one of my dearest friends. Me, Q, and Kels, if y'all tune in tonight, we disagree on a lot of stuff. And one of the things that connects us is the fact that that there is never a time that when we disagree with something that they would ever attack me for being a Christian. We don't agree on everything. We don't have, even though we don't agree with everything. We don't believe everything the same. But guess what? Because we have a respect for each other, because we want each other's purposes to be fulfilled, then guess what? You go on and do what you got to do, Pastor, and you go ahead and be who you're going to be, and I'm going to support that. Because people who want the best for you in your life will always encourage you to be the best you, because what we know is that you being the best you is and will make everything else will figure itself out. All right. So they will encourage you to stay connected to your source. They will encourage you to stay connected to your purpose. Here's another thing to consider. The right circle, y'all listen to this, the right circle will promote you in places that you don't have access to. If you ever wonder, if you ever have somebody in your life and you don't see them promoting you, this is not a person who is really for you. It's just that simple. People who are for you will promote you. I wish I would have somebody close enough to me, and I've actually had this happen before. So I had somebody one time, we were having a conversation in a group, and somebody who was not a part of our group brought up the fact that they were looking for somebody to help them with their financial services. They're like, yeah, I need somebody who does. And they were like, well, what do you need help do? And the person described exactly what I do. And I just sat there. I said, I want to see what they do. And I lied to y'all not. The person referred them to somebody else. And I'm like, so you see me sitting here, you know I do this, yet you didn't even consider to refer them to me? And they looked at me like I had spoken in a different language. I'm like, so it just never crossed your mind that I do what you were just telling them that they needed? And they were like, I never even considered. I knew at that moment there was something wrong with that relationship, because the people who are supposed to be in your life will promote you in places you don't have access to. What should happen is, if you are in somebody's life and you know that they are doing something and they're good at it, of course, then you should be promoting them. It's that simple. That's simple. I ain't even got to go through a whole lot. Next thing that you want to think about: people who are supposed to be in your life. Yeah, right in my face. People who are supposed to be in your life will always encourage and push you into practicing good self-care, good health, physical health, and to have good mental health. If a person really loves you and a person really wants to be in your life, they will always make sure, they will always do what they are supposed to do to make sure that your mental health, your physical health is in line, and that you are practicing self-care. If you see your friend, or the person you call your friend, needs a break, you tell them. If you see that your friend is having a problem, you don't just pretend that it's not happening. You tell them because you care about them. That's a right relationship. That's somebody who should be in your inner circle. The next thing, envy and jealousy will not be an issue in healthy relationships. So if you have somebody who is always envious of you or who is always jealous of what you're doing, then that person is somebody you don't want to consider. You want to have people in your life who will cheerlead for you, who will champion you, who will champion your cause, who will help you, who will come alongside and say, hey, listen, whatever you need me to do, I am here to help, because it is you. When you have those people in your life, then your relationships can be healthy. You all can grow because you're going to do the same thing for them. That's the type of relationship you want to have. And here's the last thing, and I'm going to go. Man, this tea making me sweat. The last person, I don't sweat like this when I'm preaching. Whew. Well, not all the time. Anyway, I digress. The right friends, the right circles will not be afraid to correct you in love and walk with you through the process of restoration. So the right people who are supposed to be in your life are supposed to be there in part because they can speak. You have given them, have given them freedom to hold you accountable. You have given them freedom and express the desire to want to be better. People who are supposed to be in your life are supposed to be there in part because they have access to your deficiencies. And the part of them having access to your deficiencies is not just to point them out, but to be a conduit for the healing and for the restoration and for the betterment of you. Because when you are better, when you are better, your group is better. When you are better, the world around you is better. And like I said last night, when you are better, when you are doing and being who you are supposed to be, then what you do is that you unlock everyone else around you to be the best they are supposed to be. I hope this helps. I hope you hit the share button. I hope if you have a comment, you put it in there. And last but definitely not least, don't forget, y'all, at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time, me, Kels, and Q are back. And once we're back, y'all know we have a good show tonight. If you haven't looked at my stories, you'll see some of the topics we're going to talk about tonight on the Scoop Radio Show. I hope, again, this helped. And then my last thought is this. Listen, we're not Jesus. This is not, I'm not saying that. But if you even think about those who Jesus surrounded himself with, he surrounded himself with a bunch of people who none of them were alike. All of them had a purpose. All of them served their purpose, and all of them were able and understood that they had a different place. So Peter, James, and John knew they had a place, but Peter, James, and John were three different people, three different attitudes, but they all served a different person. Diversity matters. Jesus also understood that there were some places that Peter, James, and John had to go that he had to go that Peter, James, and John could not go, because he understood he had to be comfortable with himself. He also understood that there were going to be times when where Peter and Judas, who had a lot of similar characteristics and traits, both served a purpose. Both denied him, both betrayed him, both had similar situations, but both of them were going to have different ends. He knew what Judas was going to do to himself, and he knew how Peter would respond to what he did. So don't worry about, again, don't necessarily worry about having people who think like you and who will always say what you want to hear and who always will do what you want them to do. Have people around you who are purposeful. Have people around you who are passionate. Have people around you, again, who are so connected to you that your purpose becomes their purpose, and they want to see you be successful just as bad as they want themselves to be successful. I love y'all. I talk to y'all later, and see y'all at 8 o'clock.